Man, when I think Virginia football, I think 8-4, 7-5, because that's
Yeah.
kind of what I grew up with, and that's what I remember from most of the '90s and early 2000s. You mentioned the 8 out of 9 losing seasons, and as I look at it here, it's been since 2004 that the Cavaliers showed up in the final AP Top 25. So this has
hmm
been a program that's been in a dry spell now for a long time.
hmm
Your thoughts about the coming season and best case scenario from a reasonable fashion, knowing that, hey, despite the emergence that we expect out of Miami, that we have seen Georgia Tech and Duke in ACC championship games in recent years, and Pitt
hmm
emerged to a certain extent. And then I don't want to take you in the wrong direction, but maybe some big concerns that you have that need to be cleared up very soon.
Yeah, absolutely. I think Virginia's ceiling is probably somewhere around 5 or 6 games, 5 or 6 wins. I look at the schedule. Um, to be able to figure out a way they can find 6, but it's going to take at least one upset to do that. Virginia, in order to get back to winning seasons, has to do something that it hasn't really done consistently for a decade, and that is win the games that it should win. So if you look at that schedule, they should beat William and Mary. They should beat Connecticut. They should beat Boston College. You would like to think that they can beat Indiana and Duke at home. Those are the types of games that they need to win to take a step forward. Those are also the types of games that they haven't won consistently over the years. If somehow you're fortunate enough to get all of those 5, then you have to hope that they can find a 6th somewhere. I think unfortunately for UVA, they made a coaching change maybe a little bit late. I think they might have let the previous coaching staff stick around a year or two too long. The ACC Coastal Division, 2 or 3 or 4 years ago, was not as solid as it is now. I used to say that it was kind of like a dressing shaker. You could shake it up and it would be pretty easy to go from the bottom to the top. Now I think it's a little bit harder because so many of the teams are on the rise at the same time, and Virginia's behind. So they just have to keep trying to take as many steps as they can, as consistently as they can. I think it's a tough hill. Biggest concern for the year easily is going to be the offensive line. So I mentioned that. Through a combination of some spotty recruiting and and combined with some really bad injury luck, Virginia, Bronco Mendenhall came to UVA with the cupboard almost bare at offensive line. They had, in the spring, they only had 6 scholarship offensive linemen available. I think they're bringing in 7 this fall, which will double the number of scholarship linemen on the roster, and then they already have 5 for next fall. Last year they only played 7 guys consistently, and the offensive line was really what held them back a lot of the year. So they've got to find a rotation that can protect Ben Kurt. And that can open up some holes for an interesting stable of running backs. But they have 3 guys: Jack English, Jack McDonald, and Jake Filer, who played significant minutes last year. Then I would look for 2 transfers to start at right guard and right tackle. And then after that, they have 1 guy left on the roster, RJ Proctor, who saw some significant time. But other than that, no one else. They have 16 linemen on the roster. Only 6 of them have played legitimate college football minutes. So it's a huge question mark for the team to be the story for a couple of years, I think.
Offensive line. We seem to talk a lot offensive line during these previews in the summer because we don't know who the players are. Most fans forget about them. They know the 4th wide receiver, but they don't know the best offensive lineman on the field. But as a group, I would argue the most important unit. It's got to have chemistry. It's got to have depth. It's got to have guys that are versatile and can move spots from center to guard, et cetera, et cetera. So it's mighty important. And with the defensive line play that we've seen in this league, although most of it that has gained attention has been on the other side of the conference, but still, even in your own division, there have been some serious edge rushers and D tackles that have moved on to the next level. So you've got to be stout up front. Matt Trogdon from Streaking the Lawn. It's Virginia's platform on SB Nation joins us to break down the Cavaliers. Matt, we appreciate the time.
Thanks, Mark. This was a lot of fun.